Good morning, everyone. So when you think about the word passion, what comes to your mind? The dictionary defines passion as intense desire or enthusiasm for something. And you know what makes passion so unique is it can be anything. For some of you, it may be the passion for sports, or reading, or debate, or the arts. But what happens when you take a passion and it stops being a hobby and starts becoming a way of life? And that's what I want to encourage you guys to dive into today. The funny thing about passion is it can find you when you least expect it. I didn't always have this level of passion for the arts. It came with time and growth to realize it was even there. Growing up, the arts were always important in my household. My mom went to Pratt Institute for Fine Arts in New York, so the arts were never pushed to the side. Rather, they were engraved in our primary development years. My parents pushed us to do well not only academically, but athletically and in the arts. Being surrounded by art from a young age, it came natural to me. But, like many teenage boys, I didn't see it as something to take pride in yet. But sports were everything. Soccer was my entire life. I played on many travel teams, JV, 3 years of varsity soccer, even winning a state championship our senior year. Soccer was my main focus. I poured all my time and energy into it. Art was something I knew I was good at, but I never imagined it was actually going to take me anywhere. However, before I could see the future of art, my mom always saw something in me. She always felt that art was my avenue to do something special. In 2022, a good friend of mine, and someone many of you in this community may know, Andre Green Jr. was one of the top wide receivers in the country. My mom one day after school had an idea. She told me, what if you create a piece for Andre, for his commitment day, and he unveils it when he announces where he's going? My first reaction was embarrassment. I thought it was going to be awkward, I didn't think it was going to lead anywhere, and being small-minded, I was more worried about what people would think rather than the opportunity I had. My mom kept saying, trust me, make the most of any opportunity even if you don't see where it's going. So, I finally built up the courage to text Andre that night, and to my surprise, he loved the idea. I spent around 2 months working on this piece, and looking back, it definitely wasn't my best work. There was a lot of things I feel like is wrong with it, but it was also my first time doing an athlete, such as the jersey, the helmet, everything. As commitment day creeped around the corner, I found myself more anxious than ever. The gym was packed, students, teachers, mentors, news outlets, everyone was there. Andre announced he's going to UNC, rips off the paper, and the painting is revealed. I remember one of my classmates saying, wait, Kyan, I didn't know you could do this. And the truth was, no one really did, because I shielded myself with embarrassment. But that day, a switch flipped. I felt this overwhelming amount of support from not only the St. Chris community, but the Richmond community, and that's still a motivation today. I thought, what if I do this for other athletes? See, athletes get hundreds of photos taken them all the time, but who's taking the time to make a one-on-one painting for them, and not in a fan art way, in a way that's for them, not for a fan, not for an owner, not for a team, but directly for them. That's when I decided not to stop with Andre and see how far I can take it. For the next few months, I DM'd around 200 athletes every single night on Instagram. I was sending the same message. Here's these photos of a piece I did for a friend. I would love to create this painting for you for free. All I ask is, could you post me on your story and tag me? I wasn't thinking about money. All I was thinking about was how much exposure I can get on my work and how to get as many eyes as possible. I learned to never go into something with money as your motivation, because it's almost going to always leave you disappointed. Go into it with love and passion, and the rest will always work out. My cold calling led me to working with other UNC players such as Josh Downs, Armando Bacot, RJ Davis, Caleb Love, and expanding to others like Will Shipley, Davion Williamson, and popular content creators like Destroying. I was able to work with these guys by just being bold and asking. So always ask, because you never know what someone's going to say. The worst question is the one you don't ask. So Instagram introduced collaboration posts, where the post appears both on my page and the person I'm collaborating's page. I saw an opportunity. I started offering 2 options. The clients could either pay full price for the piece, or I give them a significant discount in exchange for a collab post when the post is revealed that they keep up for around a week. This system created a win-win cycle. I started to earn income from my pieces, athletes received discounted work, and each post brought in new eyes and new clients because of the hundreds of thousands and even millions of followers these athletes had. This is when the business truly started to scale. Now, getting into Wake Forest was a school I never thought I was going to get into on academics alone, so it was truly surreal. But receiving the President's Scholarship for the Arts made it even more meaningful. It was the moment I realized others truly believed in my potential. Wake's support was unreal. They gave me my own studio, access to resources, funding, mentorship. That environment pushed my work to an entire another level. The athletes I worked with became even more high profile. The pieces became even more realistic, and as you got to see, I got to work with other athletes such as Ava Carney, Tyrese Proctor, and more like Isaiah Bond, Bryce Young, Carson Beck. And honestly, my life became consumed by my work, but it was in the best possible way. There were countless nights where I was in my studio till 1 or 2 in the morning on a Friday or Saturday, just grinding out these pieces. I found more joy in creating these pieces, traveling on the weekends to meet with the clients, and growing my brand than I ever did going to these parties or social gatherings. And that was truly the turning point for me. See, anyone can have talent, but talent without work ethic will go nowhere. Ultimately, you need to have a deep, deep passion for what you do in your life. You need to be addicted to reaching your goals in a way that even is delusional. All these delusional thoughts, late nights in the studio, led to the moment where I felt like my hard work finally paid off. One day, I'm getting a haircut, scrolling on my phone. I get an Instagram message. It's from Travis Hunter. He messaged me saying he saw a piece I did for his teammate and would love to work together. I knew this piece was going to change everything. I put everything I had into it. I flew to Colorado with my photographer and my videographer, met Travis, and he was one of the nicest, most genuine guys I've worked with. He was just so appreciative and overall just a really cool dude. Even Deion Sanders pulled out, got out of his car, and checked out the piece because it caught his eye. That's definitely a moment I'll always remember. This post ended up getting over 2 million views, 70,000 likes, and was reposted by major accounts such as House of Highlights, ESPN, and all college football. This was the moment when I finally sat back and allowed myself to humbly be proud of what I've achieved to this point, thinking, okay, all this work you put in finally did mean something. From that moment on, the drive never stopped. I kept pushing and pushing. Who's the next client I can secure a big deal with? Who's the next person I can get? I became so obsessed. Now, even though art takes up a large part of my life, education has always been a priority. Because of that, I was able to land a financial internship last summer in New York. Understanding that without business and strategy, my creative work would never be sustainable. Friends of mine in the city one day encouraged me to reach out to one of the biggest music artists in India, Gagan Aujla. He was touring the US and coming to New York. At the time, I didn't know much about his music. I came to find out he's basically like the Drake of India, racking over 2 billion streams this year alone with over 60 million yearly listeners. I went back to my roots and resorted to cold messaging, explaining my enthusiasm to create a piece for him. 2 hours later, to my shock, he replied saying, "Man, your work is fire, let's do something sick." Similar to Travis Hunter's DM, I felt this out-of-body shock and pride in what I've been able to create from the ground up. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I'm backstage in his green room in New York, handing him a painting. He sat down with me and genuinely wanted to hear my story, how I started, what school I went to, just everything about my life. And he even gave us VIP passes to sit with his family during the show. What stood out most is he treated me like an old friend, like we've known each other forever, even though 1 hour later, outside that room was 35,000 people waiting to watch him perform. A moment I'll never forget was right after we left the green room, my photographer and I were literally jumping up and down and yelling, trying to process what just happened. All day, we weren't even sure if the painting was even going to get to him, because dealing with someone of this size, there's a lot of obstacles such as managers, his team. There's just a lot of uncertainties. So when he finally got the piece, we were so relieved and had this wave of joy that just was amazing. I posted on my story right there, manifest everything. And that's because in that moment, it truly felt real. If you manifest and picture something to happen and you really, really believe it's going to happen and put everything into believing this one thing's going to happen, the universe will work in insane ways to make it come true. You just need to believe. This moment also reminded me of something important. Cold calling works, and it's essential. That's because you miss 100% of the shots you're not going to take. So remember, rejection equals redirection. So I've learned some amazing lessons, both in response to positive and negative events that's happened in my life. But I have 3 key ones I want to leave you guys with. The first is relationships matter. The biggest opportunities in my life came from strong relationships. If it's athletes, mentors, teachers, friends, Treat people well because they will always come back. For example, I didn't charge Travis for the first piece because I was genuinely enthusiastic and honored to work with him, and I didn't want to lose the opportunity. We built this good relationship because I didn't charge him, where he earned respect from me and I already had respect for him. Where a year later, he texted me again telling me he wanted to do a piece to announce that he's on the cover of EA College Football's game. And now soon we'll be doing a few things for him with the Jaguars, and I've even worked on a few things with his wife. How you treat clients and people in general is key, because that's what makes them come back. I have a lot of clients who will get traded to another team, who will transfer in the transfer portal. And because of the relationship I build with these guys, they always come back. I would love a new piece with this new uniform. I would love a new piece with this new team. So treat people well. Even here at St. Christopher's, a school I only attended for 5 years, I'm still in contact with some amazing people, such as Mr. Leckie, Mr. Sanchez, who's my art teacher at St. Catherine's, Miss Lavick, who is my advisor, and Dr. Shin, who is my advisor in middle school. Never burn bridges. You never know who's going to open these doors for you later in life. The second lesson is consistency is everything. You don't become great overnight. You become great by showing up every day and putting in the hours. I know there are many athletes in this room, and you know you don't get better by just practicing once a week. You get better by showing up every day, training, lifting, studying film, putting in those hours, pushing yourself when you don't feel like it. The same applies to everything else. If it's art, music, acting, academics. If you look at the first piece I did for Andre compared to my most recent work for Kai Cenat, the difference is huge. That didn't come from one big breakthrough. It came from thousands of hours in the studio. They say 10,000 hours is needed to master your craft, and I truly believe that. My ultimate goal is photorealism, where you can't tell if my work is a painting or a photo. Now, I'm nowhere close to achieving that, but consistency is what's going to get me closer there every day. Lastly, your network and circle matters. There's a quote I love. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That matters. I want you to think about 5 people in your life today that you spend the most time with. What is their influence on you? Your family, friends, teammates, classmates. Those people influence how you think, how hard you work, and what you believe is possible. I've been fortunate enough to work with brands such as CA Sports, the ESPN, the NBA, the NFL. And this is not because of my talent. This is because of the network I built over time. These are billion-dollar companies that give chances to small businesses such as myself. If you know how to network and build strong relationships, you can work with massive companies like this. But forget even the companies, this applies at every level. Surround yourself with people who genuinely want to see you win. People who push you. People who celebrate your success instead of being jealous and envious of it. Negative energy is very real, and it will hold you back whether you notice it or not. Don't let others' judgment affect your vision. Choose your circle wisely and grow with everyone around you. To finish my talk today, I want to stress that everyone in this room has something they care deeply about, something that excites them, even if it's something that you don't always think or talk about. Too often, that thing gets pushed aside because it doesn't feel realistic or because we're worried about what other people might think. I almost did that. This entire journey started because I sought out one opportunity that even at the time I didn't even fully believe in. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need the courage to take this first step and the discipline to keep showing up. I didn't grow up having this dream, but everything happens for a reason. Believe in yourself before anyone else does. Be willing to be uncomfortable, to fail, and to work harder than everyone else once you find what you love. You guys are very fortunate to attend a school like St. Christopher's that gives you unlimited support, resources, and people who genuinely want to see you succeed. Take advantage of that. Dream big, but work even bigger. I'm deeply thankful to St. Christopher's, Mr. Leckie, and all the mentors who believed in me before I even believed in myself. If you'd like to follow my journey and see the next athletes I work with, my social media is up on the screen. And to everyone listening, my biggest takeaway for you is simple. Don't be afraid to follow your passion. If something lights you up, lean into it, work at it, chase it, and run with it fully. Thank you for having me.
Who was your favorite person to paint for?
I would say definitely Travis Hunter, because obviously we all know he's one of the biggest guys I worked with, especially when I worked with him. That's when he was about to win the Heisman. And like I said, he's the most genuine I've worked with around 70 to 80 athletes, and no one has been more genuine, down to earth, nice as he has. And it's interesting to think about that because he's the biggest guy I've worked with. He has the most followers, the most fame, most attention, but he's the most humble and the most genuine person. So it's definitely been Travis, for sure.
Did Andre ever ask you for like another picture?
Yeah, so actually after his first year at UNC, I told him, I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna have to do another piece for you. That first one, looking back on it, it's not the best. I'm gonna wanna do something else for you. So we did another piece of him in a UNC jersey, and me and him are still really good friends, so he knows every time he wants a new piece, I'm always gonna get him right.
What was your hardest piece to do?
My hardest piece was probably Kai Cenat's piece, just because the angle was a very difficult angle with his face, as you can see, and I can show you. Because of all the little details on his face, that took weeks to get done and took a lot longer than my normal pieces take. And so this was definitely my toughest piece, also because it's for one of the biggest guys in the world. He didn't invite me on his stream, but we're still trying to figure out if I'm gonna go down there and take some photos with him and get everything right with that. But hopefully he does.
All right, stand up and be left.
What's your favorite part of doing art? Like, do you like better giving the people their portraits or like making?
So I always used to think giving them the piece and posting it and seeing everyone's reaction was the best part. And over the last few months, I've realized that honestly, the best part is that entire journey leading up to it. Like, these are athletes. They're very tough to work with. They're not the most reliable people. So I'm always, if I'm texting someone, they might not respond for a week, 2 weeks, or a few days, hours. So because of that, it's very stressful at the time. Oh, this guy's not responding. Oh, I need to know this. Even when we're going to meet up with the pieces, location's always changing, time's always changing. And that's always the most stressful part. And you think like, oh, I can't wait for this to be done. But looking back at it, you have this like 5-minute dopamine rush when you post it and everyone's like, oh, this is amazing. You're seeing everyone give it attention. But you look back on it, that entire journey of creating the piece, landing him as a client, working with him, all the ups and downs, that was the best part. And I never used to think that until around the last few, 5-6 months, I started to realize that is my favorite part.
Do we have a final question? Okay, can you be loud?
Did you paint a picture of
Odell? Hopefully one day I'm gonna work with him. My thing is, like I said, I love working with these athletes, but I want to work with them directly. So the thing that makes me kind of stand out is I'm not creating a painting for, let's say, Tom Brady, and Tom Brady doesn't have any idea who made it, or he doesn't even know it's being made. My thing is I want this to be a very collaborative effort, so all these guys I've worked with, I'm talking to them directly. I'm not working with their agents, I'm not working with their managers, I'm texting them directly, and they're choosing the picture, they're getting updates, we're going back and forth about what they want to do for the background, this and that. So if I was to work with someone like Odell, which hopefully happens in the future, that would definitely be the picture we do, and I would want to work with him directly.